Disclaimer, I do not dislike CinemaSins, and that is not a lie. For my next Everything Wrong with CinemaSins video, I'm going to be sending their video on Madagascar. But before I start, I want to say something. I've been interested in starting a Q&A, so you guys can just leave your questions in the pinned comment below. Enjoy the video, everybody.
Zebra rope swinging under the opening credits tells me all I need to know about how this movie will treat physics and science and logic.
Yeah, Marty shouldn't be able to swing on that rope since zebras don't have hands, but he can here since this isn't our reality. Get it yet?
Okay, penguins and zebras in the same spot? That's some chicanery right there. And also, unlike peacocks, who everyone knows can fly, penguins are actually flightless birds, so this is someone's fantasy.
Yes, it is. This is Marty dreaming about being in the wild. You'd know that if you were paying attention, which you later admit that you are not. Also, while the penguins can fly here, this franchise does establish that they're flightless birds, as evidenced by this part from the Penguins movie.
We appear to be flightless.
Here's some math for you. Cartoon physics squared equals dream cartoon physics.
I don't really get how that's a sin.
The lion can catch up to the zebra running only on his back feet.
Well, yeah, Alex, like the other animals, has human characteristics, so he's able to do things such as running on 2 feet.
Alex! Do not interrupt me when I'm daydreaming!
This zoo was apparently designed on a decommissioned mini golf course where they just installed a few 3-foot fences and decided that was enough.
There isn't anything in the movie that tells us that, so I don't know where you're getting that from.
Hoof mill? Is there a whole line of athletic equipment for animals in this universe?
I mean, there could be, but we never see that in this movie.
Ah! Right here. What the heck is this doing in there?
It is a giant glass ball. That is a very good question. Why not hide something, say, in your mane?
Probably because it would just fall out of his mane and break.
Also, based on this picture, Alex has pretty decent handwriting for a lion who has paw/hand hybrids. They're still better than regular paws, but one would assume that he would still have a disadvantage.
Like I said earlier, Alex has human characteristics, so I don't think he'd have a disadvantage with writing.
Also, there's a putter, which further supports my the zoo used to be a mini golf course theory.
See what I said earlier.
Whoa, let's go!
Did that giraffe just use the toilet?
You said did once, but you put it twice in your subtitles.
Ziploc fresh!
This is such a random brand shout-out, I wonder if Ziploc helped underwrite this movie.
That wasn't a sin. You were just treating your thoughts as sins again, which they are not, and you really need to learn the difference.
So this lion display is the lion standing on 2 feet on a pedestal, posing, surrounded by fireworks? That's actually incredible.
Another case of Jeremy giving a sin to something that he likes.
Man, I wish the animals at my local zoo did cool stuff like this. They mostly hide, which is why a standard zoo visit for me is basically I Spy.
What you're saying here is about you, which isn't the movie's fault. And also, starting now, whenever Jeremy faults a movie or something that isn't on the movie, I'll give it an award that I came up with recently. The Not the Movie's Fault award, and unlike Jay Exci's actual stupidest sin ever award, any sin that gets my award will always hang on to it.
After this picture was taken, I bet that MRI tech said to the photographer, "Excuse me, but there should be no electronic equipment near the MRI." And the photographer replied, "But it's outside, sitting in the grass. That can't be good for it either." Then the technician laughs slightly, snaps his neck, and drags him off.
Like I said before, the movie doesn't show that, so where are you getting that from?
Movie devotes too many seconds to fart noises.
That is your opinion and not a sin, and this is another recipient of my Not the Movie's Fault award.
I hope that person who threw that underwear is from another country, and his only exposure to American culture was a Tom Jones concert he once went to, and he is under the impression that Americans just throw underwear at anyone who is receiving praise.
Like I said not too long ago, there isn't anything in the movie that tells us that.
There is no visible reason Marty is able to hold anything. He's definitely past Mr. Ed on the anthropomorphism of equine scale, but he's clearly not at the BoJack Horseman level of being able to hold stuff.
Sure, it doesn't look like Marty can hold the cup, but if the movie is saying that he can hold it, then that's what's happening.
This is a highly refined type of food thing. You ever thought there might be more to life than steak, Alex?
Alex temporarily forgets what steak was called.
I don't think that Alex forgot its name, he was just thinking of a way to describe steak to Marty.
Is that a giant steak? As big as a lion's head? Or is this a weirdly small lion?
Yeah, the steak does look to be the same size as Alex's head, but it looks normal size to me.
Not gonna find a star like that in the wild.
Helicopter.
This helicopter appears out of nowhere and is stationary until Marty says what it is. Maybe this is one of San Andreas' magical helicopters that can do impossible things.
In reality, a helicopter can stay in one spot without moving, so I wouldn't say that the helicopter is doing an impossible thing.
Clap on heater.
You do know that motion sensor heaters exist, right?
You suck your thumb?
Better question, you have thumbs?
Yes, like I said, Alex has human characteristics like the other animals.
You know how I have that bladder infection and I have to get up every 2 hours? Well,
You know how I have a giant bruise on my head from you beating me with the fact that Melman is debilitatingly ill?
This is about you, so this sin is on you, not the movie, and this is another recipient for my award.
I've been trying to avoid commenting on the way these characters look, because they're clearly stylized, and I don't find anything wrong with that, really. I don't. But Melman's neck is too far from actual giraffe anatomy. I feel like I'm looking at a giraffe who has broken his neck. Maybe that's why he's so sick all the time.
I don't think you've been trying to avoid it because you sinned to Alex for having thumbs and being able to catch up to Marty while running on 2 feet.
It wouldn't surprise me if Gloria was in the next Avengers movie. Maybe she can take over for Hawkeye. Hawkeye.
That was not a sin. You were gesturing your thoughts as something wrong with this movie, and I'll give my award out again.
My aunt's constipation.
Let's just go ahead and add 7 sins for every other terrible poop and pee joke in the movie.
If you have any poo, it's gas.
Wipe yourself with a leaf?
It's not a latrine. You're biting my butt!
Oh, Gloria.
That was not me.
That is your opinion, which isn't a problem with this movie, and I'll give out my award yet again.
Zebra finds the only time Rockefeller Center skating rink is empty but still lit up like it's open. If it wasn't a cartoon, I'd make this 2 sins.
But this is a cartoon, so what was the point of saying that?
How invested in the physics of this cartoon should I be? I thought only the animals were stereotypical cartoons and their abilities, but here we have an old lady with super strength.
I would say that you shouldn't be invested and just accept it as a fictional movie.
Guys, we're running out of time.
You know what would make this funnier? If he had a giant clock. Oh, he does. Great.
And like you just said, Melman has a giant clock on his head, so what is the sin here?
So are they in reality on all fours just roaring, and they just think they're standing upright? Or do the humans notice that they're You know what? Animated movie with ambiguously defined rules.
The humans do see that the animals are standing upright, but when Alex is trying to talk to them, all they hear is just him growling and not talking.
In Madagascar 4, we learn that Alex is addicted to tranquilizers and has forever been chasing his first high.
There is no Madagascar 4. The Penguins of Madagascar movie was the 4th installment in the franchise.
I have an appointment with Dr. Goldberg at
Melman.
5.
The stock paranoid nebbish character, provided by David Schwimmer. Presumably, they didn't want Woody Allen anywhere near a children's movie.
Actually, Woody Allen was in Ants, which was the first DreamWorks movie.
This movie expects me to believe that they ship animals in Ark of the Covenant crates.
Well, the boxes have to be big enough to fit the animals in them.
Some more math. Penguins times 4 equals Liam Neeson.
Well, math isn't required for things to happen in a fictional movie.
Okay, they fell off the ship right at Madagascar. Okay, fine. But only their 4 crates fell off the ship right here? Seriously? That's implausible as hell.
Yeah, and you cut out the scene that tells you why. Here it is.
They cancel each other out!
DreamWorks has an unhealthy obsession with putting large quantities of things in its characters' mouths.
Yeah, we have seen that in their other movies, but how is that a problem with this movie?
This is seriously out of control. It has been all of 22 seconds since the last pop culture reference.
There was no pop culture reference there, just the Chariots of Fire song playing.
Where there's music, there's people.
Or hyper-intelligent lemurs with a stereo. One of the two.
Well, since Alex, Marty, Gloria, and Melman think they're in San Diego, it's logical for them to think it's people, not lemurs.
Alex turns into Dick Van Dyke for a second.
Bringing up a completely different actor isn't a problem with this movie.
Those Fusas may be dumb, but they really know how to prepare a salad.
Yeah, so how exactly is that wrong here?
I mean, if we had a lot of live people here, it wouldn't be called The Wild.
How would Maurice have any context for the wild if there are no people? Or how would any of them know what people are in the first place? Maybe this is San Diego after all.
Considering that Maurice and the others are animals, I can see how they would have an idea of what the wild is.
You would think being a zebra would be a disadvantage when it comes to building a shelter, but clearly it is not.
And because it's not, like you just said, how is this a sin?
Shut up, Spaulding.
Not hilarious Castaway Wilson joke is not hilarious.
That is your opinion, which is not a sin.
Darn you all to heck!
At what point does a parent watching this with their kids decide to just put on an old movie instead? A good quarter of this film is just references to other films.
Now you're just being hypocritical. You're seeing this movie for using a pop culture reference when your videos on the Croods and the Emperor's New Groove are almost completely just jokes and pop culture references.
This movie was written by 4 people, and I'm pretty sure the script was just a bullet point list of fart sounds and half-remembered pop culture references from their childhood.
Yes, it does have those things, but it's a lot more than just that. This is just like when you said this when you said in Shrek 2.
Really starting to think that the script for this movie was like 13 original lines, and the rest was just references to other better movies. 1 hour, 25-minute movie probably only makes its runtime with bullshit like this American Beauty rose petal steak spoof, which makes less sense for a kid's movie than a Boogie Nights Anal in the Driveway parody.
Yeah, it is an American Beauty reference, and I'm pretty sure it's one of those references meant for the adults.
Also, associating Alex the Lion with Kevin Spacey's American Beauty character tells me ahead of time.
Next.
For the record, again, this is an homage to a scene in American Beauty where a middle-aged man is having a daydream about f***ing his daughter's teenage friend. A children's movie is a really weird place for this.
Again, I'm sure it's just meant for the adults.
Did they practice this dance beforehand?
Probably not, since the lemurs are party animals.
Excuse me? You're biting my butt!
That's exactly what my college girlfriend said to me shortly before dumping me.
Okay, I've got 3 things to say here. The first is obviously Jeremy says something random cliche. The second is that this is another recipient for my award. And finally, did anyone need or want to hear that?
Tell me. Nobody. Tell me again. Nobody.
What is a simple bite on the buttocks among friends?
Movie backs me up on something I've been saying for years.
Jeremy says something random again.
Gotta admit, I'm only half paying attention at this point, but are these 2 things here walking stakes with legs and mouths? Oh hell, it's possible I ingested heroin without realizing it. Or Lion did.
Yes, they are. Because Alex is starving, he's seeing steaks, and steaks are what he was always provided with at the zoo. You know that if you weren't doing what you just admitted you were doing.
Marty, run!
Lion is tricked into hunting his Central Park Zoo zebra buddy, because, honestly, I wasn't paying attention.
Again, Alex's hunger is making him chase Marty. You really need to pay attention.
These zoo animals learn some hard lessons about the food chain, and while it's humorous, it's still largely filler for an animated movie with almost zero plot.
Really? This movie is about 4 pampered animals who end up in the wild and have to learn how to provide for themselves in the wild. You'd know that if you were watching the movie.
Melman's dreams are coming true.
Jeremy makes an inappropriate comment, cliche.
Alex the lion is still seeing steaks everywhere. Did we ever get a reason on that bullshit?
Yeah, we already did. Like I've said 2 times already, Alex's hunger is what's causing him to see steaks. You just haven't been paying attention, which you need to be doing.
What's going on again? I was only out of the room for however long it takes to pee. Is this the most forgettable, successful animated movie ever? I think it might be.
What's going on is that the Foosar are chasing Marty. So what you need to be doing is actually paying attention, because in order to point out actual mistakes in a movie, you need to be completely paying attention in order to find something. Secondly, this may be the most forgettable, successful animated movie ever in your opinion, which again is not a problem with this movie. But even though this movie wasn't exactly a critical success, lots of people, myself included, actually think that this movie is great. So all in all, this Sin overall is worth getting my award yet again.
His heart is bigger than his stomach.
And that's the story of how Alex the lion decided to slowly starve to death rather than hurt his friends. The end.
Well, Alex is a good guy, so why would he want to hurt his friends? And here's the end result, everybody. The sin total was 312, and the sentence will be shipwrecked sins. Thank you for watching, everybody, and have a nice day.